All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, excited to be talking to an individual coming off of an impressive victory at 158 split decision over Yodkaikaew Fairtex. Thought it was maybe a little bit wider than that, but something perhaps we could get into. Talking to Gurdarshan Mangat on today's show. How are you feeling, man? It seems like you're getting in some good celebrating after that one.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting to take a little bit of a break now. It's been a long while. It's been a long camp, so it's nice to be breaking and enjoying some time with family.
Yeah, and obviously been a little bit since you were outside of the circle. Like, were you especially itching to get back out there and express yourself and everything like that in combat?
Yeah, always. It had been a little longer layoff than I wanted. A lot of things had taken place and stuff like that, but everything happens for a reason, and it all came together. I thought I was probably going to fight in March or April, but ended up being in June, so it is what it is, but we got the job done.
Yeah, and it seems like you were enjoying just like the nature of the victory, obviously individually being a great opponent for sure, but it seems like that Fairtex name really meant a lot to you there. Like you were talking about how that was like a cool sort of legacy thing. Have you been kind of like observing that Fairtex legacy for like a while now? I mean, you've been in the one championship fold for a bit, but it seems like that really meant a lot to you. Like it was a good feather in the proverbial cap.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, I'm kind of the first of my people to be making it to these stages. So when you're hearing about Fairtex Muay Thai fighters, it's intimidating almost. So I wanted to see where I stood with that. Hadn't seen anybody else before me do that, basically. So just to see where I stood with some of the top strikers in the world, that was a true legacy thing to especially see it on my record, and especially somebody with the last name Fairtex. So that it was huge.
Yeah, and I mean a comprehensive performance, and I mean able to overcome like that brief sort of tough moment with like the front kick. Like it seemed like there wasn't like, I mean, you didn't like drop or anything like that, but maybe just woke you up a little bit. Like were you like, what was that like in that moment there, just kind of weathering that storm there? Is it like just a muscle memory sort of thing? Is there even any kind of conscious thought pattern happening necessarily?
Yeah, it was a muscle memory thing because I don't remember any of that. I don't remember going into a double leg takedown. I don't remember ending up on top. I think I woke up, almost kind of came to my senses when I was in side control on them. The rest of it was just autopilot. My body just reacted that way. So it's kind of cool to know that your body can react in certain situations a certain way, and because that definitely wasn't me. Or it probably was me, but like as far as me knowing what I was doing, I didn't know what I was doing.
And obviously your technique and your inner resolve was like what led to that. But just in terms of like the people you're, regularly getting in that work with, like gym wise, like who would you, credit for that? Just like the specific technique refinement leading into this one here. I know you said it was a bit of a longer camp, but just in like the close proximity, like ramping it up training leading into the event, like who were you mostly getting in work with there?
I'm usually doing my camps out in Las Vegas at Extreme Tour, so I'm working with like Eddie Baracco, who was in my corner as my striking coach. Then we got Eric Exick, who's like the main MMA coach. I got If for boxing. Then I got 10 Planet in Las Vegas, and I also train at a Revolution still with Viviano Fernandez and her entire team. So I'm kind of I'm everywhere. So I'm always getting in work. I'm always trying to improve with the people that are best of the art that they are. And that's how I'm always doing it. That's how I'm always prepping for every fight. I'm always trying to level up with the best guys. And I put myself in the worst situations in fight camp. I do that on purpose. So I think that's what trains me to be able to handle these situations if they do unfold, and which is why I was able to react the way I did.
And when we were last talking, we were discussing how the last bout was pre-recorded and how you kind of liked that aspect of it. What did you feel like getting back to the live fights with this one? I mean, that's obviously more normative kind of fare, but just with the last one being pre-recorded and getting into this one, was it like a bit of a different dynamic, bit of a different feel leading into it?
Yeah, for sure, because I'm not sitting around 2 weeks and I'm not going to stay quiet about the result. It's all happening in real time, and the celebrations, everything, everyone celebrating and everyone reacting, it's all happening in real time. Last time I was sitting in my living room watching my fight, technically what was live to everybody else. And so that was definitely a unique, different experience. But it's cool to get back to it. Now I just want the crowds to come back. It would have been really cool to have the crowds here because I think our fight was a lot of fun. And I think the crowd, having a crowd presence would have really added even more to it.
Yeah, I find that kind of curious. Like, I'm not really entirely sure why they're doing that, because they've had certain shows where, like, fans are kind of back at it. Is that something you would like to see kind of ramp back up, like, you know, fans getting back out there and stuff like that? Or did you kind of dig the closed-door dynamic, or did it make it seem like it was almost like a sparring session a little bit, maybe took out a certain kind of presentation over-the-top aspect from it?
Yeah, it feels a little bit like a sparring session, but at the same time it doesn't. The walkout and everything is just as real. I usually go tunnel vision anyways, but usually on certain things you hear crowds react, so you can you feed off of that energy. I'm not sure why they're still doing it closed still, because I feel like they're allowed to go back to normal. I'm not too sure exactly what the rules are, but I do miss that. Definitely, when I look back on this fight and I watch it, I'm like, I can see where the crowd would have really added to it, and it would have made it a lot more fun.
Yeah, hopefully can get something like that going for a different fight. It seemed like that last one was kind of interesting, though. Like, you were talking about how you ate Wendy's and you got to, like, just hang out and chill on the day of. Have you managed to snag some Wendy's after this one here, or not quite yet?
I literally ordered Shake Shack on the way back to the hotel. That was the plan. Shake Shack with a double cheeseburger and a salted caramel shake. Literally, as soon as they put me in the van to go back, it was already ordered. That's always my go-to. And I've been going strong since.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing, no doubt. But one of the last times we were talking to, you were saying, like, just the linear, you know, presence of Demetrius Johnson training with you. Like, you've trained with him, like, since, like, the Horiguchi fight on and off. Have you been able to get work with him as of late there? I know he's got, like, a big rematch trending with Adriano Moraes in August there. Have you been able to get in certain work with Demetrius Johnson as of late, by chance?
No, me and DJ actually have not trained since his one championship. Since I signed to one, and since he signed to one. All the training, like, I know that they keep bringing it up. All the training we did was prior to the end of his UFC run, and I was part of that. And I was kind of up and coming, and not really in those promotions. Now we are in the same promotion, the same weight class. But we stay in contact, but we haven't trained together since I've signed or he's signed.
Is that mindful of just you both being in the same division, both, like, guys that could trend to fight each other? Maybe you don't want to do that kind of thing, like, as training partners. Was it informed by that, perhaps?
I'm sure that has a little bit to do with it. I'm getting into the top 5. I'm getting into he is in the top 5. Obviously, my goal is to go after whoever has the gold. He doesn't have to go yet, but that's always, like, my target is getting the championship belt. So it all depends on who's holding it. That's what I'm after. I'm not after DJ. I'm not after Adriano Moraes. I'm after the gold, and whoever's holding it is the one that I'm going to be coming after.
Yeah, and you had posted that statement saying you were coming for that championship gold, and even leading into the fight, you were talking about the performance in a way where you were saying, this is going to be an effort where people are talking about me as, like, a serious player at flyweight, like a guy that's going to contend for the belt. And, you know, just the total body of the performance considered, do you feel like you put on that sort of performance? Like, I felt that was a great sort of put on the radar kind of performance, but being that you're the individual at the center of it, do you think you were able to get that performance off?
I believe I did. I also am very critical of my own performances, so I know there's so much more I can bring to the table, and I will continue to do that. I'm one of those people where the next morning, while my opponent was kind of arguing for a rematch, I was already dissecting my fight and looking for my own weaknesses. So I'm always one step ahead of everybody else. So I was sitting at breakfast, basically breaking down and looking what I can do better for the next fight. So I was already moving on the next morning, and that's what I always am. I'm always trying to get better and better because it's only going to get tougher onwards from here. So I want to just keep improving.
Yeah, and it would seem like a next step would be Yodkaikew Fairtex. It seems like there's been a bit of back and forth banter since the fight there and stuff like that. I mean, that would be a great guy to, really put yourself out. I mean, obviously you're already on the radar, but just like to even further compound that idea of contending for a title, just a guy like Yodkaikew and his legacy in the one flyweight division, I feel like that would be a great, scalp to have, as it were.
Yeah, for sure. That fight's been wanting to happen for almost 2 years now, 2.5 years. We've been scheduled about 2-3 times now. The first time I got COVID literally 48 hours before my flight. The second time we made it to Singapore and he got COVID the night before. And then that's why I fought Roshan in that last fight. And I had to move up a weight class, but it was supposed to be him. And now hopefully we can do it, make it this third time happen. We're kind of like that Tony Ferguson Khabib of one championship. So we're hopefully it happens. I think it's a really fun fight for fans from both sides. Plus, for me, he's fought Adriano, he's beat Adriano, and I beat him. I think that cements where I belong and where I should be headed. And that's kind of the statement I want to make with that.
Yeah, it would definitely put you in a great position for sure, but I briefly kind of touched on, DJ and everything like that, and we're talking title picture in general. Like, how do you see that rematch playing out? Do you feel like the Moraes-Johnson rematch at 161 is going to be a great deal different than what we saw first time? Like, what would you think plays out in that one?
I'm not sure. Well, the thing that I know about Matt Hume and DJ is they're amazing strategists. I've been there. I've seen it happen. And I'm sure they probably dissected what went wrong the first time, and they wouldn't have tried to get this rematch had they not known something and prepared for something. Matt Humes himself is a mastermind, so and DJ is the fighter, and that's what propelled them to success for as long as they did in the UFC, and it's because of that duel. So I'm sure they figured out something that they might have missed in the first one, and it could possibly be different. But then again, Adriano is not your typical flyweight. He's a long, lanky, strong jiu-jitsu, knew how to use the knees on the ground, and who knows, that reach could be a problem once again because he used it very well the first time.
Yeah, certainly an intriguing fight in a lot of different regards, but just in kind of talking about your last fight, it seemed like there was like a, cathartic cultural representation component to the entrance there, just honoring Sidhu Moosewala in lieu of him passing away there. Like, how important was that for you to have that kind of interwoven into your entrance? It seems like Indian cultural aspects are very important to you. Like, it seems like you wear that well when you come out there and really represent on the global stage and all.
Yeah, well, that's everything for me. From the time that I started and nobody knew what I was doing, or I was never on the scene and nobody really knew about me, the vision always was the same: represent your community, represent your people in whatever way you can. I got a platform, I had an opportunity. It was a sad week for the entire community. It happened on Tuesday, I believe, and I was awake because I was on Singapore time. And I'm not superstitious, but I'm somebody that if I have a formula, I don't change it. So I never change my entrance song. I always come out to a certain song, and that's what I come out to. This, I was like, you know what? And then, so I was listening to his music, and I wanted to see what it would feel like. So I was in the weight room, I was kind of running and stuff, and then it was doing something to me. His voice was doing something. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna break out the mold, and we're gonna come out to this. And it was powerful. It was when I heard it on the speakers. Come on, before I walked out, his voice was very powerful. And I think just for the community alone, it was a big deal because, yeah, it's still, like, people are still pretty messed up about it, and it will be for a while, but you got to show the power of music and the power of someone's art, not just the person that they were, but what they left behind and the body of work they left behind, and that's what I was trying to represent. And it seemed like it was received quite well. It became a viral video, and everybody that was watching it was saying they got goosebumps, they felt it, and it turned out to be an awesome moment. And it's actually, I've watched probably the entrance more than I watched my fight, because I remember that feeling of before walking out when I heard his voice. It was very powerful, and it really kind of zoned me in on what I needed to do. And I may continue to use that from now on.
That was going to be my follow-up question, if that maybe emboldens like a switch up of the theme music from here on out.
Yeah, he has a very powerful voice, and if it gets me there, it gets me there. And his music and his voice definitely gets me there, where I need to be in that moment. And there was a video, I don't know if you guys saw the video of me backstage right before walking out, and you hear a song drop, and I just click, I snap. And yeah, it has that element to it.
It's funny you say that. I'm like a content manager over at Sportskeeda, and I actually just like put that out as like a story assignment, like the backstage kind of scene that you provided. So shout out to you for putting that out there too.
Yeah, I know, it's cool. I was like, I actually asked one for it. I'm like, I remember you guys filming before I kind of like zoned out. Do you guys have that? And they sent it to me. I was like, oh, there was a lot more. We were back there for about 15, 20 minutes because that kickboxing fight before me just dragged on. It was kept getting injury times and this and this and this. So I was standing back there for like 15, 20 minutes to the point where I'm like, do I have to re-warm up? And there was a lot of footage that was filmed, but I'm happy with the clip that they gave. There's one where I literally start roaring like a lion. It's kind of crazy. It gets a little nuts back there.
Yeah, it was an intense environment for sure, good atmosphere for sure, but it seems like your interest in a couple atmospheres is out there, like at least in the context of, some pro wrestling a little bit. I thought that was cool. I heard Nick Atkin interviewing you for the media day, and he was asking you about that, and I didn't know that you were kind of like, tight with Satnam Singh a little bit, like he's a guy that you've interacted with, and he's obviously doing big things over in AEW there, so yeah, that's cool stuff. And apparently you like learned English, like watching old like WWE and stuff like that back in the day.
Yeah, I'm good friends with Jinder Mahal also, and that's actually how I learned English. I got put in ESL, English as a second language, the program, because I was saying terms that they were saying on TV, but they weren't really the correct or politically correct terms to be saying in class. And I learned a lot of. If you remember Shane McMahon, he always uses a lot of hand signals. He throws his hands out a lot. I literally used to talk like that all the time, and people were like, and the teachers stop doing that. And The Rock and the people's eyebrow. I used to answer everybody with the people's eyebrow, and Generation X saying "suck it" to everybody. It definitely got me in a lot of trouble. I did. The teacher tried to teach me that the English that I'm using is not proper in any way.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's funny that you got like the mannerisms from it too. Like, were you doing like The Rock, like just bring it hand on the playground and stuff like that, all that kind of stuff?
I was doing all that. Shane McMahon's hand signals, the people's elbow wherever could do it, the eyebrow, I was doing it. Like, I was pretty brainwashed by it. I never missed it. I literally would show up on Monday Night Raw. We used to watch it. I would record it on VHS, then review it. And the show used to be 3 hours long at that time. It used to be a 3-hour show, basically. And then we would all meet up on the playground on Tuesday at 6:30 a.m. School didn't start till 9 a.m. And how are you going to get most kids to get out of bed and get to school? So we used to all meet up in a circle and we discussed the storyline. And, at that time, we truly believed it was real. Like, back in the 90s, you couldn't convince anybody otherwise, really. Now you just see it because we just live in a completely different world, it feels like. But at that time, it was as real as it gets. The storylines were just like, you couldn't convince me that it was not real. So we always believed it. I went to a lot of shows in Vancouver and Monday Night Raw shows and stuff like that. And yeah, it was a cool way to grow up. But I learned a bit too much from it. That might have not been a good thing.
I was gonna say, were you ever like one of those kids that like did like the wrestling matches with your buddies? Like, did you have like your own like little gimmick and stuff like that, or?
We had. So there used to be the Hardcore Championship, right?
Oh yeah.
And the Hardcore belt used to be, all you needed was a ref. You needed a ref, and you could win the belt wherever you wanted. That was the actual thing on WWE. So you could be like in the back, like in your change room, and some guy comes in. Gets he pins you right there as long as the rest. We had that going on. We created a hardcore belt, and guys used to like jump me to win this belt. There was a time when my dad, so I came back from school and my dad's sitting in the living room and he can look out to the front yard, and some kid came in and knocked on my door, and the kid pulled me out on the lawn, beat me down, had a ref with them, pinned me, took the belt, and my dad watched going, what the hell's going on? And it was just things we did. It was to the point where the teachers had to call us into the office and be like, you guys can't be doing this stuff. Because the recess and lunch were dangerous hours for us if you were the hardcore champ. And because there's a chance that you were going to get jumped for your belt. And we had that going on for a while. Like, we used to do stuff like that. We used to have King of the Cage matches on the jungle gym. We used to use the tennis court as steel cage matches. And you had to climb over the tennis court and to win the steel cage. And Hell in the Cell. Oh, we used to do it all. And then we go to the pool and we'd use the kickboards as chairs. And my brother and me actually got in a lot of trouble one time. We used to do it at home, and we created something called the freezer match. I don't know if that match actually really exists, but I believe we created that. And what's it called, the coffin match? Like, where they put you in the coffin and they lock it. That's how you win. You had to put the person in the freezer. And I locked my brother in a deep freezer, and I dropped the key, and he was stuck in that freezer for a little while. I got him out, and that could have been a really bad situation. But we did a lot of dumb stuff like that.
I mean, speaking my language, that was a lot of like my upbringing too, with the wrestling and stuff like that too. So yeah, that's fun. And I mean, you see certain guys. It seems like Arjun Buller is looking to maybe do something like that. Would you ever try something like that, at least for like a one-off even kind of thing? Like try a little pro wrestling, like maybe get on a show and fly around a little bit. I could maybe see you doing like some cruiserweight moves and all that, like a Hurricane Rana or something.
I'd love to do it. Like me and Jinder Mahal, we always joke about it. I'm like, dude, I could be like the Rey Mysterio, the Indian Rey Mysterio. Like, exciting and come out, be your partner. I'm always open for it. It's like, you're living a childhood dream. Why not? If you could somehow be at the age that I'm at and still be doing things that you dreamt of when you were a kid, then I think you lived a life well lived, that you're able to do these things. So I would love to do that. It'd be so much fun for me. Going from being in the living room and just pretending, and we used to have VHS, we used to have like camcorders set up, and we record our matches, and we used to have, they used to come out with a song like CD. We bought the CD, and you have to cue the CD and the song of who you're going to walk out to.
Yeah.
And, so we grew up on it to one day be able to do the real thing. Oh, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be quite the fun time for sure. Definitely, fun to get out there and do some wrestling. It would be fun to see you in that kind of capacity there. But just one last thing I kind of wanted to touch on, just because it seemed like a very unique kind of setting, all factors considered. Like, it seemed like you were at Russell Peters' wedding, and it looked like Bruce Buffer was there as well. Like what's that night like? Like, what's it like hanging out with those lads and getting all fired up?
That wedding was one of the coolest weddings I've ever been to. It was just the intimacy altogether, but just first of all, just being invited by Russell, I was like, oh man, this is like, that was literally decided on 24 hours notice, because I was in camp at the time, and then they pushed my fight. So then I was like, all right, I got to go. And then just being in there, just the people I got to meet, like, you're just hanging out with Bruce Buffer, Alex Lewis, got to chat with him, Michael Jai White, actors like that, all these, Cedric the Entertainer was the pastor, was the one who got them married. And you're just seeing all these guys, and you're just hanging out with them. Everyone's just so down to earth. And, it was just an amazing time. Like me and Russell were pretty close. I'm going to see him in a few weeks. He has a show here and stuff like that. And Russell's been instrumental in my career, especially since I signed with One. It's because of him I'm able to do the camps in Vegas, because I literally live at his house. And especially this camp, it went on for so long. And he lives in LA, but he has a house in Vegas, and that's where I stayed. And just the fact that he's always had the doors open to me, so I can go there prepared, focused, alone, isolated. And he's always been so he's been so supportive of that. So he's a huge aspect of my growth and One Championship, because without him, I don't know where my camps would be or what the cost would be of the camp, because rent would have just been a lot. But because of him and having that home to train, I'm so much more or less stress free, and it's been a blessing.
Yeah, that's an incredible kind of allyship for sure. And yeah, he always seems like a guy that's like very supportive of fighters and that kind of culture, and seems like a good salt of the earth kind of lad. But you've been really good with your time, man. I don't want to be gobbling up your whole night here. So is there anything you want to maybe add as a parting thought as we're wrapping up here, man?
Just thank you guys all for the support. I hope you guys are enjoying this ride that I'm on and continue to enjoy and watching it. And yeah, just higher highs and just keep climbing up. That's the plan here.
Yeah, great journey to follow along with. Now back-to-back wins in the one circle, and just that recent victory at 158 adding to that, and excited to see what's next for Gurdarshan Mangat. So thanks for coming on the show and providing great insights yet again, man, and we'll have to get you on whenever the next fight's taking place too. You enjoy the rest of your night.
For sure. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.